Yes, in much more favourable conditions today, I'm glad to say. Dry weather, sunny skies. This should be a good one. It's Matthew Booth and Tom Griffiths that make up the front row. Stuart Much and Rob Johnston are there on row 2, with Adrian Cooper and John Moore, then Ollie Samways and Stuart Thompson row 4, Anton Langdon and Colin Childs rounding out the top 10. While the overall title and the Class B title have been won now by Liam. He cannot be caught. For second, though, in Class B, Leighton Norris and Ollie Samways are only 1 point apart, so it's winner takes all between those two. And as Paul was mentioning, that Class A battle, just 9 points in it between Rob Johnston and Matthew Booth in Rob's favour. So as long as Rob is inside the top 6, it doesn't matter what Booth does. Johnston will be the Class A champion. Let's find out what happens there. As for the final time this year, the Protox Shocks Sports Specials Championship roars into life. Booth on the inside, the green car of Griffiths getting a better start this time on the outside line, and Rob Johnston trying to come through there as well. He can't do it, but Griffiths takes the lead, importantly, away from Matthew Booth. So Tom Griffiths, who is also a Class A runner, of course, taking points immediately away from Booth. There's a long way to go in this one. Through Rich as they go down towards Wilson. It's the green car in front. The championship contenders for Class A side by side there for second place as Rob Johnston tries to apply the pressure around the outside line. There, though, is the champion-elect Liam in car number 61, getting himself straight into the thick of the action. Nigel Brown, that is, immediately in front of him, and I think Paul Collingwood behind. But as they come out of Palmer's for the first time, Griffiths leads the way. Booth has to win the race realistically to keep himself in contention. He's going for it up the inside line. Matthew Booth going for the race lead, and he takes it. Important move there for Booth as behind Darren Berris gets himself in. Well, he's all arms and elbows there trying to gather it together at Agostini. He does hold on to it but loses places as a result. So Booth takes over the race lead then. Griffiths into second position. Third place for Rob Johnston. Early days, I know, but at the moment that would be enough for Johnston to seal the championship. As further back, that's a real dive being attempted by Stuart Thompson up the inside of Paul Collingwood. Thompson started 8th and Collingwood 12th, but Collingwood it is who's in front now in the number 11 car. And the very pretty Eclipse SM1 is running strongly here. There's car number 13. Working its way down the back straight. That's Colin Childs, who's now going to try and draw himself alongside Thompson, which he does. Side by side here for second place overall. Then Rob Johnston goes through. Rob Johnston goes into second position, keeping the pressure applied to his championship challenger Matthew Booth. So it's now Booth from Johnston from Griffiths, your top 3. Stuart Much, I think, is there in 4th place. Now Stuart Much is running in Class C. He is the only Class C entrant this weekend, but it's actually Sylvia Much. Oh, hang on, Rob Johnston off the road. What's happened? Rob Johnston off the road at Coram. Now that could be absolutely critical for the championship. Rob Johnston, running in second place, just didn't appear to turn into the corner. I have no idea what happened there, but that has sent him plummeting down the order. And if it's a terminal problem, that could be him waving goodbye to the Class A championship. Well, what drama here at the end of the opening lap. Matthew Booth leads the race, and now, if we threw the checkered flag, he would be the Class A champion. There is Stuart Much trying to go up the inside of, I think that was John Moore, but couldn't quite do it. The point I was about to make is that Sylvia Much, who is not here this weekend, had already wrapped up the Class C championship, hence the reason that she's not racing this weekend. But now all of the attention once again turns to this topsy-turvy Class A championship battle, which now sees Matthew Booth in the perfect position to snatch the title away from Rob Johnston, because there is Booth. He's got a big gap now as well over Tom Griffiths in second position. Third place is going to be John Moore. Fourth position is now Darren Berris, trying to recover from his moment down here at Agostini on the opening lap. Then it's Much next in line, followed by the number 21 car, which is Adrian Cooper, who ran strongly in the wet yesterday. And Adrian Cooper trying to work his way further up into the top 5, if at all possible here. He's running in 6th position as we speak. And is there any sign of Rob Johnston? I don't think so. So Rob Johnston, that might have been him. I caught a flash of orange then at the bottom of the screen. Is Rob Johnston still there or not? That is the question. If he is, then in a way it makes it even more bizarre that he went off at Cora, because it did look for all the world as if the car simply didn't turn. Could have been cold tyres, he could have got a wheel on the grass, I guess, but it was still a strange old incident there for Rob Johnston even. And Rob, now, if he is still out there circulating, really needs to start moving up the order. Down the back straight we go, move being made there by Adrian Cooper up the inside of Stuart Much, and he will go through, I think, on the inside line down at Brundle. Yes, he will, as just up the road from them, Darren Berris and John Moore do battle for third place overall. And this is also the fight for third within Class A, because all of the cars now towards the front of the field are Class A runners. The Class B contenders not having a great start to this race. In the dry conditions, the more powerful Class A cars are coming to the fore, as you would expect. And so most of the Class B cars running outside of the top 10 at the moment. Down towards Murray's they go again, and John Moore defends the inside line. That means he washes a bit wide on the exit though, and here comes Berris. We know that Darren Berris' Westfield V8 is one of the quickest cars in a straight line, and he's going to try and use that to good effect now. There go the leaders. Is it Berris into third? Well, they're still side by side. Moore trying to come back at him up the inside line. Berris trying to crowd him over to the inside line, and it will succeed. So Berris goes through, Moore down to fourth. Then it's number 21, Adrian Cooper, who is now ahead of Stuart Much, but Stuart's still doing a nice job in the early stages in that MEV MX150R. Picks his way now through Rich's corner as the leaders are at the Wilson hairpin, where it is car number 40, Darren Berris, applying the pressure here to John Moore, and he was looking up the inside then at Palmer's. Did he make it work this time around? No, he didn't. So John Moore, somewhere coming out of Rich's, found a way back ahead of Darren Berris, because we did see Darren move in front as they went down towards the first corner. Down towards the left-hander in Agostini they go. There is Rob Johnson. Oh, sorry, excuse me, not Rob Johnson, John Moore, excuse me, who turns his way through the left-hander. And John Moore in the FRS Arrow, holding on to third place, but by the skin of his teeth, it does look as though Berris is a bit quicker at this stage of the race. Another short race, of course, just 13 minutes plus 1 lap, so we may get an extra lap out of this one today. We only got 6 in yesterday in the wet, but lap times already significantly quicker than they were yesterday. The fastest lap yesterday was set by John Moore. It was a 2-minute 34-second lap. Well, already we're getting down to about 2-minute 5, 2-minute 6 for the pace in this race. Back down the back straight they go, and this is Berris' opportunity again to open the taps. It's in the initial phase of acceleration though, isn't it, where that Westfield really seems to gain. Actually, once they get up to top speed, they're fairly evenly matched, but Berris had the inside line and does go through. So Darren Berris then, a bit of a wiggle there as the Westfield spits flame from the exhaust. Spectacular stuff as they go through Brundle and Nelson, and he has found a way through. So John Moore loses a position. Darren Berris gains one and gets himself onto the outright podium and the class podium as well. The right-hander at Coram again, and Berris immediately starting to pull clear too, so the car clearly working well in these conditions. Darren ended up yesterday's race in 4th place after a couple of little moments along the way. Murray's they go back down the pit straight once more, and John Moore now has to set his attention to defence rather than attack, because Adrian Cooper, the red and black number 21 machine, is not far behind in his Pro Comp, the LA Gold, as at the front of the field we've had a lead change. Now that's important, because through has gone Tom Griffiths. He was significantly quicker than Matthew Booth that time around, but Tom Griffiths has gone through, so Griffiths takes the race lead. Matthew Booth is in 2nd place now, which means that he's only set to score 12 points instead of the 15 that he would have got for the race win. Also, to add insult to injury, Tom Griffiths has set the fastest lap whilst chasing him down, so that's taken another point away from Booth. Now we believe that Rob Johnston is still circulating in the Sienna. It's now a case of where Rob Johnston gets. If Booth finishes 2nd place, then Johnston only needs 9th position in his class. So 9th place is, or in fact 8th he would need to, 9th will give him a tie, but Matthew actually has more race victories this year, so he would win on countback. So 8th position is where Johnston needs to get to now to secure the title, but Booth knows that if he wins the race, then Johnston would have to get into the top 6, and that is that little bit more difficult to do, especially after Johnston's earlier dramas. So Booth, though, losing ground, it would appear, to Griffiths as they go down the back straight. Peering into the background, there still is no sign of Rob Johnston, at least troubling the front runners, but we believe he is running at the moment outside the top 10 in class, so this is still enough for Matthew Booth, but just to make absolutely sure, he needs to try and get this race lead back, because Johnston, whose car appears to be running okay, really ought to be making more progress through the order. So before the race is out, and we're only just into the second half of the race now, Rob Johnston is likely to gain more positions. Matthew Booth throwing everything at this now as he goes through Coram and into Murray's. He's almost within slipstreaming range, I'd say, of Tom Griffiths' Tiger. But is Tom's car quicker in a straight line? Looks like it might be. He's scooting away again as they cross the start-finish line. Matthew Booth taking a tighter line down towards turn wobbly. He's nowhere near close enough to attack. In fact, the gap is going out now. So Tom Griffiths starting to establish some dominance now at the front of the field. Down to 2nd for Booth. Now there is Berris in 3rd. Side by side are we for 4th? It looks like we are, because John Moore has got Adrian Cooper up the inside towards Rich's. He fends him off for the time being, but Adrian Cooper in the number 21 car looking pretty quick here. Out of Rich's they go. Then it's Stuart Much. He, of course, is running in Class C, so doesn't take any points away from the Class A or B contenders. And as they work their way through Wilson, back down towards Palmer's, looks as though For the time being, Moore has held on to this position, but can he continue to do so for the rest of the race, I wonder? Down towards Agostini, and into the braking zone they will go, with still car number 6 in front. As far as the Class B battle was concerned that I was mentioning earlier on for second place in the championship, well, Leighton Norris was a point ahead of Ollie Samways coming into this race, but at the moment I can tell you that Ollie is ahead of him, so Ollie Samways could be about to pip Leighton Norris to not only second in class but third in the overall championship as well, so that's another little battle we'll try and pick up on towards the end of the race. Through the right-hander at Williams they go, and again this is where the maybe slightly lighter number 21 machine of Adrian Cooper starts to come into his own. Back down the Bentley Straight, underneath the Snetterton road bridge that the vehicles can use to access the paddock here at Snetterton on the way into the circuit, and then onto the brakes into Brundle and Nelson. Through the left, through the right, back down towards Coram, no way through here, and actually through that part of the circuit it looked as though John Moore was starting to establish himself a bit more comfortably in this position, but it's going to continue to ebb and flow, I think, the gap between them. Now back through Coram they go again. Onto the brakes through, and through Murray's, and that was a mistake there for John Moore. Outbraked himself, ran off wide, and straight through goes Adrian Cooper. So Adrian Cooper gaining the place, and as a result really of the mistake, and you did sense that was what it was going to take, because there wasn't really any difference in pace between them. It was simply a case of trying to figure out another way of getting through. Making an outright overtake was always going to be difficult, but forcing a mistake out of the other driver often is the best course of action. So through will go Adrian Cooper. Can he now maybe set off after Darren Berris up the road, because Darren hasn't escaped that far up the road, and there significantly is Rob Johnston. So Rob Johnston up the inside of Stuart Much. Now that of course was not a pass for position within his class, but that is, I think, going to put him in 6th position. So as things stand, Rob Johnston, despite the early off, is back in a championship winning position, even if Matthew Booth were able to get the race lead away again from Tom Griffiths, which itself is looking less and less likely. But 6th position, remember, absolutely guaranteed it for Johnston, regardless of where Booth ended up, and 6th position is now where he's running. So Rob Johnston, I know not what caused the off in the first place, but it certainly made this an even more dramatic championship finale than we ever expected it to be for Class A, because really, through the first part of that opening lap, Rob Johnston, if anything, looked quicker than Booth, and was certainly looking as though he'd be able to simply hang on to his coattails for the rest of the race and secure the championship that way. As it is, Rob has really had to fight for this. The thing is, he may well not know inside the car what the point situation is. He won't know where Matthew Booth is running. He won't necessarily know where he is running in the overall race. Of course, there's no pit-to-car radio in the Protect Shock Sports Specials Championship. The only form of communication between the team and the driver is via the pit wall and the pit boards that we hung out over the wall to pass messages on. But when you're flashing past the start-finish line in excess of 100 miles an hour, it's not always that easy to pick out the right board and then figure out exactly what it's saying and then to figure out what that means in your head. So for Rob Johnston, really, he has to keep pushing here and just keep his eyes forward, keep the momentum going. Clearly the car would appear to be okay, he says, finding some wood to touch, because the last thing I want to do is put a hex on in here. He seems to have bounced back from that early off pretty well, and we are now on to the final lap of the race. Tom Griffiths, you're seeing here, the race leader, who it looked as though might have been the man who was taking the championship away from Matthew Booth. As it happens, it doesn't really matter where Booth finishes, because Johnston is inside that all-important top 6, working their way down the back straight now towards Brundle and Nelson. You can see Booth there in the background. He's dropped steadily back from Griffiths. He's now about 3 seconds or so behind as we're halfway around this final lap. But Tom Griffiths is going to come home a winner for the first time this year, which is good to see. He hasn't been around at every round this season, but Tom Griffiths, clearly a quick racer, and struggled maybe a little bit in the wet yesterday, had some early issues, finished down in 9th position in the end, was Tom overall, but he is going to come through now to take the victory in Class A and the victory overall. Through Murray's Corner he comes, down across the start-finish line, and it will be the victory in the final race of the season in the Protect Shock Sports Specials Championship for Tom Griffiths. Matthew Booth comes home in 2nd position, but that is not going to be enough for him to secure the Class A Championship. Rob Johnston, by, I think, something like 5 points, is going to come home home the champion. So Griffiths wins the race then. Second place goes the way of Booth with Darren Berris on the podium, Adrian Cooper 4th, John Moore 5th, and Rob Johnston gets that all-important 6th place that he needed to guarantee the Class A title. As far as Class B was concerned, by the way, it will still be Leighton Norris that takes the second position in the championship. He scored just enough points in the end to fend off Ollie Samways by just a handful of points. So that is how all of the classes work out. Rob Johnston, though, is your Class A champion.
Tommy, that's a way to end the weekend.
Brilliant, absolutely made up with it, because yesterday's race was a disaster really, because we had wrong tyres and everything else. I just went backwards, and for my friend who owns a car that I drove for him, I really wanted to get a good result for him as well. So we had a disaster at Donington because the car broke whilst leading as well. So yeah, I really made up with it, really made my year now.
Mission complete, we'll see you next year.
I'm building the Westfield at the moment. The company Siltech Racing are doing for me, so I'm going to be out hopefully racing that next year in this. So let's have some more of them results, please. That'd be great.
Thank you very much for that. Stuart, Class C victory in the final race. That's not bad.
It's not bad. I've had an up and down season. Only done 2 rounds overall in this car. The other team guys have had engine problems all season as well. So hopefully come back next season and really challenge for some race wins. We're up there today, but just didn't quite do it.
A victory to get you fired up for 2019. We like it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Stuart, first time in Class B, nailed it.
I did, better than the first effort yesterday, but yeah, trouble is you don't know which cars are Group A and which are Group B, and I thought I got a good start, but the guys in the cars behind me in Group A just went, and I thought, blimey, but I looked and I thought, well, I don't know, because I don't know the guys, so I didn't know which ones are Class B, but it was great fun. But yeah, where they gain in the straight line, these little things go around the corner.
Good stuff. Well, you're smiling at the end of 2 pretty gruelling rounds here at Snetterton. It has to be said with the rain yesterday.
Oh yeah, that wasn't much fun yesterday, to be honest. But yeah, and the trouble is I've only ever used these Yokohama tyres. I haven't got a set of wet tyres, so using these yesterday was a bit of a skid pan really. But we got round, no mishaps, so that was all right.
Well done, good result.
Thank you very much.